Good evening, everybody. I'm Fictional Crystals, and I'm going to be discussing yet another theory I made right after Gem Drill. On why the cluster is made up of crystal gems, at least the majority of it. I wouldn't completely call it a theory, it's more like stating the facts. A discussion, really. Firstly, the cluster is voiced by 3 of the crystal gems. Steven, Pearl, and Peridot. The Crooniverse may have used those voice actors because they were the only ones around at the time, so it was easier. And I might be overthinking this. But what if the Crooniverse decided to get voices of the crystal gems because the cluster is a crystal gem? Out of the surviving gems, Pearl has been a crystal gem for the longest. Peridot is the newest. And Steven is the son of the former leader of the crystal gems. They all represent different types of crystal gems. One who had been in the war and seen the greatness of rose quartz. One that hadn't been in the war and is unbiased by Rose's actions. And one that fears they won't live up to the legacy of rose quartz. The cluster is like this too. Some gems would have been very close to Rose, others may have not had the chance to meet her. And then there are those that try to be like her. But they all ended up the same way. In keeping it together. Garnet stated that the Gem Mutants were crystal gems that were shattered into pieces and forced to fuse. They were buried together. These shards were from the war, just like the cluster. In Gem Drill, the cluster was very happy to reform. They didn't care that they would be stuck in a forced fusion, they just wanted a body. Until Steven tells them that if they reform, they will destroy the Earth. Then if you listen closely, you can faintly hear various shards saying no. As if they really didn't want to destroy the planet. HomeWorld gems hate the Earth. If the cluster was made of HomeWorld gems, they would be very glad to destroy the Earth. It was where they were shattered. Now that I think about it, that many HomeWorld gems couldn't have been shattered. The majority of the crystal gems were against shattering other gems. They would just poof them and contain them. And how did Garnet immediately know that the Gem Mutants were made of crystal gems? There are hundreds of copies of each gem. She wouldn't have been able to recognize them just from seeing their gems and a few limbs. Unless she knew they were crystal gems because the HomeWorld gems shattered crystal gems, but the crystal gems didn't shatter the HomeWorld gems. The crystal gems left Lapis alone until she was picked up by a HomeWorld soldier after all. It was against a crystal gem's code to shatter another gem, exception of Rose, and maybe Bismuth too. HomeWorld gems were just following the orders of their diamonds. It's not their fault they got caught in the war. So it wouldn't have been right for the crystal gems to shatter the HomeWorld gems either. They had no choice. They had to either fight or fight while rebelling. The HomeWorld gems had to shatter as many crystal gems as they could by orders of their diamonds. The only ways I could see a HomeWorld gem getting shattered by a crystal gem is if it was by accident, the crystal gem was really ruthless, or they had no choice. When you hear the cluster yelling, "Can't stop, going to form," you can hear great sorrow and terror and pain in their voices, as well as others simply screaming for help or screaming 'cause there's no hope. The crystal gems fought for Earth, and many died for Earth. The cluster is mainly made up of crystal gems that were shattered into pieces, forced to fuse, and buried together. Yet after all this time and all that's happened, they're still protecting the Earth.